Did a former Vatican insider's rebellion spark a seismic shift in the Catholic Church? Or was it merely a cry in the wilderness? Picture Rome in 2018, a city of ancient spires and whispered secrets, rocked by a letter from Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, a once trusted Vatican diplomat turned fierce critic of Pope Francis. His accusations of cover-ups and calls for the Pope's resignation ignited a firestorm, culminating in his excommunication for schism in 2024 and the rise of Pope Leo XIV, the first American pontiff. This is the story of Vigano's descent from Vatican insider to excommunicated rebel, his clash with the Church, and his surprising critique of the new papacy, a critique that, for some, holds an unexpected grain of truth. Let's journey through this saga of faith, scandal, and division, exploring what it reveals about the Catholic Church today. Imagine the Vatican in the summer of 2018, its marble halls humming with tension. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, a seasoned diplomat who served as papal nuncio to the United States from 2011 to 2016, releases an 11-page letter that sends shockwaves through the Catholic world. In it, he accuses Pope Francis of ignoring warnings about Cardinal Theodore McCarrick's sexual misconduct, alleging a cover-up that allowed McCarrick to remain influential. Vigano's demand is unprecedented. The Pope must resign. He goes into hiding, his words fueling a divide between conservatives who see him as a whistleblower and others who brand him a traitor. The letter, laced with righteous fury, marks the beginning of Vigano's public rebellion against the Church he once served. Vigano's story begins decades earlier in Varese, Italy, where he was born in 1941 to a wealthy family. Ordained a priest in 1968, he earned doctorates in canon and civil law, entering the Vatican's diplomatic corps in 1973. His career was illustrious, serving in Iraq, Kuwait, Great Britain, and the Council of Europe, before becoming Secretary General of the Vatican City-States government in 2009. There, he uncovered financial corruption, warning Pope Benedict XVI of overpriced contracts costing millions. His leaked memos in the 2012 VatiLeaks scandal painted him as a reformer, but earned him powerful enemies. Instead of a cardinal's hat, he was sent to Washington, D.C., a move he later called exile. In Washington, Vigano's tenure was marked by controversy. In 2015, he arranged for Kim Davis, a Kentucky clerk who refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses, to meet Pope Francis, blindsiding the Vatican and clashing with Francis's inclusive tone. The Vatican clarified that the meeting was not an endorsement, and Vigano's standing began to crumble. By 2016, he retired at 75, but his resentment simmered. His 2018 letter escalated tensions, accusing not only Francis, but also Benedict XVI and other prelates of knowing about McCarrick's misconduct. While McCarrick was later defrocked in 2019, the Vatican rejected Vigano's claims, and some allegations were discredited, though they rallied conservative Catholics skeptical of Francis's reforms. Vigano's rhetoric grew sharper after 2018, aligning with far-right conspiracy theories. He denounced COVID-19 vaccines, the Great Reset, and a supposed deep church tied to globalist agendas. He rejected the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 1965, calling it a theological, moral, and liturgical cancer that birthed a false church. By 2020, he claimed Francis was not the legitimate pope, referring to him as Bergoglio and accusing him of heresy and schism. In December 2023, Vigano announced plans for a traditionalist seminary outside the Church's jurisdiction, further distancing himself from Rome. His public statements, posted on X and his website, gained traction among right-wing figures, including former President Donald Trump. amplifying his influence among conservative Catholics. In June 2024, the Vatican's Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith charged Vigano with schism, defined in Canon 751 as the refusal of submission to the Supreme Pontiff or of communion with the members of the Church subject to him. The charges cited his denial of Francis's legitimacy, his rejection of Vatican II, and his rupture with the Church's communion. Vigano refused to attend the trial, calling it an honor to be accused and rejecting the authority of the dicastery, its prefect, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, and Francis himself. On July 4, 2024, the dicastery concluded its extrajudicial process, declaring Vigano guilty of schism and automatically excommunicated under Canon 1364, Section 1, a penalty known as latae sententiae. He retained his title of Archbishop, but was barred from celebrating Mass, administering sacraments, or holding church positions. The decision was announced on July 5, 2024, confirming Vigano had excommunicated himself through his actions. Excommunication, a medicinal penalty under canon law, aims to invite repentance, but Vigano remained defiant. On X, he published the Vatican's decree, urging supporters to speak out, quoting Jesus, "If they keep quiet, the stones themselves will start shouting." He continued to reject Vatican II and Francis's authority, aligning himself with sedevacantist views that claim the papal throne is vacant. In October 2019, the Ukrainian Orthodox Greek Catholic Church, an excommunicated sedevacantist group, declared Vigano their pope, though it's unclear if he accepted this. Reports also surfaced of Vigano conducting clandestine ordinations and seeking reordination under pre-Vatican II rites, believing post-Vatican II ordinations invalid. These actions cemented his break with Rome. The death of Pope Francis and the election of Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost as Pope Leo XIV in early 2025 shifted the landscape. Leo XIV, taking the name of Leo XIII, a pope known for social justice and doctrinal rigor, inherited a church divided by Vigano's legacy. Vigano, still excommunicated, turned his critique to the new pontiff. In a May 24, 2025, post on X, he argued that Catholics hoping for a traditionalist pope like Pius X or Benedict XVI were deluded by a virtual reality that ignored Leo XIV's continuity with Francis's policies. He pointed to Leo's appointment of a nun as secretary of the Dicastery for Institutes of Consecrated Life, the confirmation of a bishop in St. Gallen, Switzerland, with controversial views on homosexuality and women's ordination, and Leo's reaffirmation of the Abu Dhabi document on human fraternity and Vatican II's Nostra Aetate. Vigano called these moves heretical, accusing Catholics of inconsistency for criticizing Francis but excusing Leo for similar actions. Vigano's critique resonates with some who see hypocrisy in selective outrage. For example, critics like Taylor Marshall, who condemned Vatican II as heretical under Francis, praised Leo XIV despite his reaffirmation of the same documents. The St. Gallen appointment, tied to a diocese with a history of progressive leanings, sparked conspiracy theories Vigano and Marshall had fueled. Yet Leo's defenders argued his hands were tied by local agreements, a claim Vigano and others rejected, citing papal supremacy. Similarly, Leo's environmental stances, echoing Francis's ecology focus, drew Vigano's scorn as climate fraud. While some Catholics overlooked this continuity, swayed by Leo's traditionalist aesthetics, like his use of Latin or ornate vestments. Vigano's point, though rooted in his rejection of Vatican II and the modern papacy, highlights a broader tension: consistency in Catholic critique. He argues that Catholics cannot cherry-pick which popes to support based on superficial markers like vestments or Latin. a view shared by some who, for opposite reasons, question why Francis's critics now embrace Leo for policies they once decried. Yet Vigano's stance is uncompromising. He sees no legitimate pope, calling Jesus the true king and pontiff, and viewing the church as infiltrated by a modernist Bergoglian church. His excommunication, he claims, is a badge of honor, proof of his fidelity to a pre-Vatican II church. The Vatican's response to Vigano was clear. Schism is a grave offense, threatening the church's unity by cutting the faithful from sacramental grace. Canon 1331 bars excommunicated persons from sacraments and church rolls, and only the Apostolic See can lift Vigano's censure, requiring his repentance, a prospect he shows no interest in pursuing. His case is rare. He is only the fourth bishop excommunicated for schism since Vatican II, following Marcel Lefebvre, 1988, Ngo Jin Thuk, 1976-1983, and Emmanuel Milingo, 2006. Unlike Lefebvre, who founded the Society of St. Pius X but never denied the Pope's legitimacy, Vigano's rejection of Francis and Vatican II places him closer to sedevacantism, though he stops short of fully embracing it. Supporters like Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone and Bishop Robert Morlino once praised Vigano's impeccable integrity after his 2018 letter, urging investigation into his claims. However, his descent into conspiracy theories and sedevacantist rhetoric alienated even traditionalists like the Society of St. Pius X, who distanced themselves from his denial of Francis's papacy. Critics argue Vigano's excommunication was inevitable, given his public refusal to submit to the Pope, but some see Francis's selective discipline, excommunicating Vigano while sparing others accused of heresy, as evidence of personal bias. The faithful, caught between loyalty to the Church and frustration with its scandals, face a dilemma: how to address real concerns without fracturing unity. As Pope Leo XIV navigates these divisions, Vigano's shadow looms large. His May 2025 homily on the Ascension, posted on X, reflects his apocalyptic view. The Church is worn out by decades of crisis, and Leo's election offers no respite. He warns Catholics against a consoling but unreal fiction, urging them to see Leo's actions on ecology, interfaith dialogue, and church appointments as extensions of Francis's heretical legacy. Yet Vigano's own path, marked by clandestine ordinations and a traditionalist seminary, suggests a parallel church, one that challenges Rome's authority while claiming to preserve true Catholicism. This saga reveals a church at a crossroads. Vigano's excommunication, confirmed by the Vatican as self-inflicted, underscores the gravity of schism under canon law. His critiques, though extreme, tap into real frustrations among conservatives over transparency, abuse scandals, and doctrinal shifts. Yet his rejection of Vatican II and the papacy isolates him from mainstream Catholicism, even as his words find an audience among those distrustful of institutional power. Pope Leo XIV, balancing tradition and reform, must address these fault lines to prevent further division. Whether Vigano's rebellion sparks lasting change or fades as a footnote, his story is a stark reminder of the fragility of communion in a polarized church. As we close this journey, consider the weight of Vigano's choices and the Church's response. His defiance, born of conviction or pride, challenges us to reflect on loyalty, truth, and the cost of dissent. May the faithful find clarity amidst the storm, guided not by division, but by a shared hope for a church that endures. Stay curious, stay grounded, and let's keep exploring the truths that shape our world.